Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Inside the Birds post-game show. It's Geoff Mosher. It's Adam Caplan. A little later than expected, but man, that one needed a little pause because, Adam, that was one of the weirdest, strangest season openers that I've covered in my 21 years. You're talking about a championship banner getting unfurled, the Linc rocking, and then you get a player ejected, a player hurt on the opening kickoff, a lightning delay, and then like 90% of the points scored in the first half and then almost nothing in the second half. But if there's one thing that really stuck out from the Eagles' 24-20 win over the Cowboys in the opener, is that looked like almost every single Eagles regular season game from the last 2 years. It had all the elements in it. And I think maybe in the past we could sit here and say, man, this thing didn't look good or that thing didn't look good. But this is how the Eagles do. It was almost their standard operating procedure, especially earlier in the year. And I think you do have to give credit to Jalen Hurts figuring out ways to move the ball on a tough night for the offense, and the defense coming through in the second half.
Yeah, the thing is, it's one of those games where you look at it and you go, okay, offense got off to a phenomenal start. Goddard was active. I'm just looking at my notes here, like the positives. Hurts' running was incredible. Man, these juke moves, I mean, that's part of his game. And like when you evaluate a quarterback who's a dual threat, you gotta give him props when he does something with his legs, and Hurts was fantastic. But the key to me is that while Dallas didn't stop Barkley, they controlled him, and the Eagles still won the game. Like, you have to feel good about that.
Yep.
Now the passing game, Hurts was efficient, but man, the second half was really both quarterbacks struggled to find open receivers. Now, I know from the press box where you were sitting, I'm assuming you could see it because I call the ultimate 20 all 22 is in the press box because you see the entire field.
Yeah.
Were guys just not getting open? Was it I know the offensive line had some pressures they gave up. What was the issue you thought with the passing game? Is it just an overall take?
Yeah, you know what? I honestly thought it was a lot like last year's pass offense. I think that there were times where their guys were open. I'll give you a perfect example. The 8-yard touchdown run that Jalen Hurts had. I mean, there was a well-designed rub route on the left side where two guys ran vertical. A.J. Brown cuts in, and if that ball is thrown when it's supposed to be, with the timing that it's supposed to be at, A.J. Brown might score a touchdown. At very least, there's a collision at the goal line, and he's strong. We know he can make yards after. But Hurts doesn't throw that ball a lot of times. We've gone through that last year, but he had such a wide open because the Cowboys were in man defense that the entire right side of the field was there for the taking. So we just ran it in for an 8-yard touchdown. That's really the game. I'll wait for the all 22 to be out. It'll be out not too far. I was able to see that there was pretty good coverage. I have to give Dallas credit. I thought they played pretty good defense for having a bunch of guys on the back end there that didn't take a lot of reps at camp. The Diggs and Bland and all that. I know they had some injuries, but it was really, to me, just like a lot of games you saw last year, especially early on, where if the defense presented Jalen Hurts with the opportunity, and we'll get into this later, to find a rush lane, he will take it. And I'm pretty sure the Cowboys are going to watch the tape of the first half, and they're going to – I think this is where they missed Micah and even DeMarcus Lawrence, right? Two veterans who know that when you rush Hurts, you can't get all the way up the field. We talked about that in the pregame show. And when they watched the tape of the first half, because they completely changed how they rushed him in the second half, and it worked for them, but they allowed him to have too much space to run through, and he's going to take that, and he did.
Yeah, that's the big thing, and those are what we call back-breaking runs. The QBs who could run, it's just demoralizing for the defense. Chris Collinsworth was talking about that. It's so demoralizing because you think you're playing it right, you're getting upfield, but no, that you don't want to get upfield. You want to make the quarterback run inside,
right,
or totally inside. So that was backbreaking. I mean, Hurts looked explosive, man. There's no question. And he looked healthy, but the passing game, it's very reminiscent of some games last year where you go, man, what uneven. You see some really good stuff early. I really like Goddard getting involved early. I thought that was really good. They continue to develop their chemistry and trust with each other. That's really big for Hurts, because part of Goddard's numbers not being what they should be, other than being hurt, it was the chemistry over time where it hasn't been consistent enough. But that's one of the positives. But before we move on to the defense, Jalen Carter situation. Boy, that throw that Hurts had to Dotson was big time. The protection was phenomenal as a post route, it looked like. They finally got after Kyer Elam. I mean, I was like, when are they going to do this? But it wasn't A.J. Brown, it was to Dotson. Great throw, over 50 yards, and just a great catch, great timing. That was it. Look, that was good to see because they need to bring that deep passing game back.
That's why I called it such a vintage kind of Philadelphia Eagles game. I wrote about it on phillyvoice.com. This was a game that we have seen time and time again over the last few years where you are at the end of the game seem to be focusing on the fact that A.J. Brown only had one target and was invisible. Devontae Smith, just a couple of catches, maybe not poetry in motion, but you got some great and timely scrambles, and you had a beautiful deep ball, which this time it went to Dotson. It's usually Smith or Brown, but this one went to Dotson, and it was absolutely beautiful. And by the way, not a lot of quarterbacks are willing to make that kind of a throw on 3rd and 6. That's really important to keep in mind. 3rd and 6, your mentality, especially in a close game, is I want to move the sticks. I want to find, my receiver if I can, avoid the pass rush, but I also want to throw a high percentage pass. I don't want to turn the ball over. Those are low percentage passes that for Jalen Hurts are actually high percentage because he's such a good deep ball thrower and he places the ball really well. And I actually talked to Jahan Dotson after the game. I asked him, was it tough to track that ball so deep down the field because he doesn't get that opportunity as much as AJ and Devontae? And he said it's actually really easy. He just puts it in a place where it's easy to get, and he had to run under it. But that's a vintage Eagles offensive game. I mean, you're going to wonder why certain things didn't happen, but at the end of the game, certain things did happen to make sure to ensure that they won the game.
Yeah, a couple things on that. So yeah, Hurts 19 for 23. Well, when we talked to Greg Cosell for Inside the Tape, that I know we'll drop that Tuesday morning, I think.
Yeah.
Greg's going to tell you what the tape tells him. As he always says, it's not an opinion. This is what the tape looked like. This is where it should have gone, or here's where it went. This is the right thing. Whether it's not, whether it was, we'll know. We'll be able to tell you. But that throw was big time. Yeah, I know it's a lower percentage throw, but Hurts is so elite at it. Greg was nice enough to give our Patreon Tier 3 members access to his notes. He broke down Hurts from a couple areas last year. And Greg's just blown away about how great of a deep passer. Because I asked Greg, I said, do you remember him being this good with this in Oklahoma or in Alabama? Didn't seem like he felt it was the same, like it was anything like this. So it's pretty good. Like this is a way where you could just demoralize teams, not just with his running. If he gets protection, he loves throwing the ball deep. Some court like Derek Carr, who had enormous talent, he would check the ball down. Like his nickname was Captain Checkdown. He would frustrate coaches. Like, dude, you can do this.
Right.
Carr wouldn't do it. Hurts does it. It's amazing. But the passing game overall has got to be better. There's no question. Just overall.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We've said that so many times last year, and then you can't figure out when that game is going to be. Last year it was against the Steelers or a couple other games where all of a sudden, out of nowhere, it's just like bang, 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 bang. Greg told us he did a study. This is really, I think, a discussion we had on the preseason Inside the Tape on 3rd down, quarterbacks on 3rd down. And Jalen by far had the fewest passing attempts on 3rd down compared to other NFL quarterbacks. But the team had a high rate of conversion because, and this is why I think people struggle with evaluating in the ranking of Hurts, because he'll have these drives where he doesn't throw the ball on 3rd down. He runs to pick up the 1st down, then runs to pick up the 1st down. And then later in the drive, after doing that, he'll pop one deep. And so his numbers will be really efficient. His completion percentage will be high. He'll have, a good QBR because he popped that deep ball, but he didn't have to throw the ball as much as some of the other guys. And that's why people struggle with the rating. But again, at the end of the day, did you score points or not? In that regard, they did. But I agree with you. I'm sure they'll spend the week trying to figure out how to just try to get better. Just try to make the plays that are there when they are.
And understand, so Hurts had 14 attempts, right? There were a number of them that were scrambles where, for whatever reason, he didn't like what he saw. He didn't get protection. Guys didn't get open, or what. There's always context to everything, which is what the tape will tell us. But I got to give Dallas credit. I mean, they didn't stop Barkley, but they controlled him. I mean, they did a really good job. Look, he got a number of In fact, some runs he got on his own where it wasn't blocked real well.
Yep.
But he only had 60 yards. I mean, they did a really good job. That was a stunner to me. I mean, Kenny Clark, I'm sure, helped. AJ Dillon, his first run was fun. Boy, did he rumble and stumble, and he got 9 yards. It was good.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, what do you have? He also had 24 receiving yards. So he had 84 yards, but it took him 22 touches. So there's your answer on whether or not Barkley's load is going to get any lighter. 22 touches, project that over 17 games. That's going to be close to 380, 400 touches, when all's said and done, because they needed to. They needed to give the ball to Barkley in tight games. But yeah, his average per touch is pretty low for what he ordinarily is. The only last thing, go ahead.
I'm just going to add on Barkley, but I'll tell you, Will Shipley, we've talked 2 years now about the explosion of the juice that he has. We've used the word juice, I don't know, 75 times with Will Shipley. That catch that he had and the run unfortunately hurt his ribs, and that definitely impacted their offense. We need to add that because he looked really good.
Yeah.
He looked good. Like he adds something, and obviously Dillon's not explosive at all. So that's something they're missing without Shipley, and he'd never return after he got hurt early in the game. That's a disappointment. Dickerson left you saw Dickerson leave with a back. He had the back injury, which got added this week. That's concerning. And man, poor Ben Van Sumeren. I feel bad for him testing it today on his knee. It looked terrible. It looked bad. You saw his face when NBC showed it. ACL last year.
Man.
This one looked bad.
Yeah. Feel bad for him. We'll see on Shipley. And of course, at the end of the game or near the end of the game, Landon Dickerson.
Yeah.
We talked about this.
Of Toth.
Limping off, going back into the locker room. So you just got to, hope that Landon Dickerson can make it this year and hold up, because he's really putting his body through the grinder over the last few months.
Yeah. And by the way, we should mention Drew Kendall was not active.
That's right.
He's not active. Toth replaced Dickerson after he hurt his back. The inactives were Ojulari and Okonkwo. So basically they went with three edges. And then Campbell, if you noticed, they did line him up as an edge rusher. I don't know how many snaps he did there. So I thought that was interesting. Ty Robinson, as expected. We talked about it in the pregame. We didn't expect him to be a factor for a while. He was inactive in Kenyon Green, and, of course, McKee with his broken finger.
Yeah. Hey, last thing on offense I wanted to mention. I thought Patullo did a really nice job with the first 15. He came out with a variety of he really took the torch from Kellen. It was a lot. You saw 11 personnel, you saw 12 personnel, you saw a 13 personnel play where he lined up 3 tight ends on the right side of the line of scrimmage, but then he tossed the ball left. The play called for Hurts to toss the ball to the left side to Saquon Barkley, who got 16 yards. So that was kind of a misdirection pitch out of 13 personnel. And they got 16 yards out of it. So, and there was a ton of motion. There was motion.
Oh, good.
Early on almost every single play. Devontae Smith running right to left, AJ Brown left to right. I think there was motion on the big play to Dotson. I got to say, I felt like it was motion for the sake of it. It wasn't motion like Shanahan style to create space. Guys get free releases. I don't know if it really did anything for the offense, but there was a ton of motion. So we'll have to see if there's more of that going forward.
A couple things. Did you notice Cooper DeJean was on offense for 3 snaps?
I did not. What?
Yeah. I'm looking at 3 snaps. Darius Cooper got 2. Mechie, I saw that one. Shipley only played 5 snaps because he got hurt. Dillon had 8. Granson, here's the thing. They need a backup wide tight end in the worst way. They just do. Calcaterra is just not – he played a lot, by the way. He played 59% of the snaps.
Yep.
They had 63 snaps on offense totally as an offense.
Yep.
They need to hurry up back badly in Shipley. You saw Dillon play late in the game, a little bit, a couple snaps. But, yeah, Granson played 27% of snaps, way more than I expected. That was interesting.
Yeah. Was Cooper DeJean maybe in the fight in the kneel down snaps is like a deep
maybe that was it. Yeah, that's a good point. I don't know. I just thought I'd let people know since we have access to the snap counts this early.
Yeah, I think Granson kind of played an H-back role with Van Sumeren out.
Saw that. Yep.
I noticed him sort of offset a lot and in the backfield, I think, when he was in the game. So they'll have to scheme around if Van Sumeren's – I feel bad. I think they were going to use that kid, Adam. I think they were really hiding him in the preseason offensively because they had some plans for him, and now those might go to waste. So we'll see.
Yep.
All right, we'll get to the defense in a second. The NFL is already underway, and you know what that means. That means there's going to be that one guy in your group chat who hits this 5-leg parlay in the first week of the season, and then he's not going to shut up about it for the rest of the year.
I wouldn't either.
I wouldn't. I want to be that person.
Yeah.
That person could be any one of us, and my bookie makes it stupid easy to get in on all of the action, whether it's college ball, NFL, super contests, survivor pools. You need all the spreads, the player pops, and in-game lines. It's all under one roof, and it's all with my bookie. If you're new to my bookie, we got something for you. Use our code, the birds, all one word, and any bet that you choose up to $500 is fully covered. So you make your play, and if it doesn't hit, you get it right back when you opt in using your bet back bonus token. All right. Who says you lose everything when you lose? Not here with my bookie. So there's no better time to jump in, and there's no better place to play. Football is back. Let's make some money with my bookie. Well, somebody who'll be losing some money, most likely, because that's what happens when you get kicked out of a game. You get fined, maybe even suspended, is Jalen Carter. And listen, there's going to be a whole lot of controversy. It's like Seinfeld now with the second spitter thing. Did Dak spit first?
Yeah, right. I mean, that's awesome. All right,
Dak did say he spit. He actually admitted he spit, but Dak was saying, I spit a lot. Like, you're like, you spit. Dak was basically saying, I didn't spit at the guy. This guy spit on me. And so it's, for a guy who I thought, Adam, showed leadership this summer, Jalen Carter, that's a major step back. You cannot do that.
You can't do it, even if he was provoked by the spitting at each other, the spitters. So you can't, man. You just can't react. You got to walk away. In fact, what you do is, and I love when you might see it in the NBA or certain NFL sometimes when there's someone pushes somebody first. Carter should have pointed to him. Hey, I didn't do it. Like, don't spit. And hey, he just spit at me.
Right.
Just do that. Like, see, he's got to learn, man. That can't happen. Think about it this way. Carter winds up not playing a snap. Somehow they won. I know the run defense was shaky, but there was Sanders. The Sanders play, obviously. Yeah, Javonte Williams had some good runs in that game. But they weren't like he won long. His long was 11. It wasn't like he had a bunch of 10-yard plus runs.
Agreed.
They hung in there. And remember now, they only dressed 4 D tackles. And if you consider the snappage was crazy. Ojomo was totally invisible, by the way. Jordan Davis played way more because he had to. 87% of snaps, 53 overall. They had 61 defensive snaps. Their defense did. And Byron Young had some plays in this game. He had 22 snaps, 36% of the snaps. So that's really all they can do. And, not having BG to play inside a nickel because he retired, they were kind of limited to what they can do with their front.
Yeah, that's why I sort of credit the defense, because they were clearly in a position with Davis and Ojomo playing 87% and 90% of the snaps respectively, that you figured they were going to wear down. And if you notice, Dallas came out at him in the second half. They ran the ball 3 straight times. Then they got a deep pass, and then they ran it. They were running it again until Miles Sanders fumbled. So it looked like Dallas was trying to capitalize on no Jordan Davis there, no rotation up front. And by the way, we'll talk about this too. Not much of a rotation on the edges either. We'll get into that in a second. And Dallas was running the ball, and then bam. This, like I said, it's such a vintage Eagles game. What happens? A turnover. That's how the Eagles lived last year. They bent occasionally, but then came up with a big turnover. And your guy, the guy you just mentioned, Young, got in there. I know Jahad Campbell, if you watch the TV, looks like Jahad Campbell is hitting him, causing the fumble. But if you really freeze it, you'll see this arm, right? And then a 4 on the back of it. It's 94. It's Young really making that initial hit and jarring the ball out. And then, of course, Quinyon Mitchell jumps on it. And then the Eagles retain possession. And then the Lightning came, which I do think helped the Eagles a little bit get rest.
Not their offense.
No, not their offense. I think it helped the defense.
Yeah,
but you're right. It was so bizarre because I joked that they should recreate their takeaway dance celebration that they did right before the snap, just to like get themselves fired up again. But that was the Eagles defense. I got to give them credit. They were wearing down and they came up with a really big stop when they needed it, because I think if Sanders doesn't fumble there, and Dallas, I believe, would have gone ahead at that, and if they score a touchdown, that might be a completely different game.
Well, they might have lost. It's Zach Bond not hustled downfield on that tackle. That's probably going to be a touchdown. So
Yep.
that was a big time play, and no doubt. And you make a really good point about the one thing that helped the defense get some rest. There's no doubt about it. That's a really good point. I hadn't thought about that. That's I agree with that.
Yeah.
Actually, one big surprise. Drew Makuba, it's interesting because you never really know how Vic feels, because Vic, you saw with DeJean, you felt DeJean missed too much practice time. He didn't start him at the beginning of the season. Makuba missed practice time with 2 different injuries. Apparently, my thing was like he either starts week 3, 4, 5. Drew Makuba, nope, it was week 1, and it wasn't even remotely close. Makuba, 84% of snaps, 51 snaps, and Sidney Brown, it's over. Sidney's going to be a backup the rest of the season unless Makuba gets hurt. Brown only had 14 snaps, 23%. That is remarkable to me. That it just obviously he's really smart. He picked it up, and Vic thought mentally he was ready to go, and that's what it tells us. That we always say decisions to make tell you everything you need to know. They felt Makuba, particularly Vic, and Christian Parker, defensive backs coach, thought that he was ready to go. Good stuff there.
Listen, we continue to learn this about Vic. He is going to play the guys he feels is best for his defense, and he's not going to care about A, experience, as long as you show that you know what to do, and B, your contract. Because I would have never guessed Azeez Ojulari would have been inactive going into the season opener. But Adam, it's pretty clear this guy does not – we were so used to Jim Schwartz and wanting a big, deep rotation of edges. He does not feel like he needs a deep rotation of edge rushers. He really only had, if you want to call it 4 because of Patrick Johnson, who played a little bit, but he really gave the majority of the edge rushing snaps to the 2 starters and Josh Uche, right? And I know you're right that they brought Campbell down. I think that was more schematic at times because the Cowboys were running, and you're bringing that 5th man. You're in nickel because the Cowboys have 3 receivers out there, but you suspect they might run, so you bring either Bond or you bring Campbell down on the line of scrimmage just for that extra beef up front. But I was shocked that Ojulari was
that was surprised
inactive.
Me.
Yeah,
but it's if Vic's not going to play him. I mean, I don't know. It's Howie's call. How he controls. I mean, every general manager, because they have the personnel meeting. If he wants the guy to play, he could overrule. You should not overrule. I don't know. Howie's pretty good from what I understand, talking to coaches going back,
right?
A number of years. Like they'll have a discussion, but he doesn't like to do that. And you really shouldn't. If the coach thinks the guy's it just didn't do it, you shouldn't tell him what to do. But anyway, it's very clear to me that Vic didn't think that Ojulari could help them. And he honestly, I didn't really see it in terms of looking good in training camp, other than the second preseason game. We were like, okay, seemed to have something left, but Vic felt he cannot help him. On the snap counts, just real quick here, 61 overall. The Eagles defense were on the field. Bond, Blankenship, Mitchell played every snap. Campbell, 92% of the snaps. So Jomo, 90% of snaps. I mean, it's only game 1. Don't panic, folks.
Yeah.
He'll be a factor later. Davis held up. I know they gave up some runs, 87% of snaps. Nolan Smith, 85%. Makuba, 84%. Jackson, will get to him. Adoree, 69%. Jalen Hunt, 64%. Young's 36%. Uche, 31%. Sidney Brown, only 23%. Jaquarian Bennett, 11%. Patrick Johnson, who you mentioned. But yeah, he played a little bit more than I expected on defense. Obviously, we know he's here for special teams mostly. Gabe Hall, only 5 snaps, 8%.
That surprised me, by the way. After Jalen Carter got ejected, I thought, okay, you're going to see probably a decent amount of Hall and Young. You did see the Byron Young. I thought you'd see more Gabe Hall too. But again, they just relied so heavily on Ojomo and Jordan Davis, who generally played well. I mean, that's a good Dallas interior offensive line too, that they've got. They generally played well. You saw that one really nice pass rush from Jordan Davis, but he couldn't finish off the sack.
Yep. Actually, he had 2 pressures. Both. Yeah, it's a shame. We should mention just a couple things defensively in terms of DeJean. Did you notice how he was deployed? Any kind of from the press box? because they
I
opened
think he
up.
played outside corner,
That's why I
at
asked you. I
times in base.
thought
Yep.
he did.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
the whole secondary is interesting, right? I mean, first of all, I didn't think we were going to see it this early because of Dallas has two good receivers, but Vic clearly had Quinyon Mitchell shadowing George
Traveling.
Pickett,
Yes.
traveling
A
against
lot.
Pickens.
Yep.
Now, I know some people, why wouldn't you do that against CeeDee Lamb? Well, that's because CeeDee Lamb plays inside a lot and outside, and it's tough to have your top corner play slot and outside. So they stuck him on George Pickens, figured that with CeeDee Lamb being inside, he'd be matched up against DeJean a lot, and then you take your chances with that outside matchup. But in the opportunities that Lamb did get against Adoree Jackson and Jacorian Bennett, he won basically all of them. So it's sort of like a pick your poison for Vic, right? If let's say Vic just played sides, all right, Quinyon stays on one side and Adoree on the other. Well, what happens if Schottenheimer puts Lamb in the slot on Adoree Jackson's side, and then Pickens outside, and then wastes like Jalen Tolbert on Quinyon Mitchell? Well, then you're not getting the most out of Quinyon, and you've got a bad matchup on the other side of the field. So I understand why Vic did it, but it did expose Adoree to have to cover CeeDee Lamb a lot, and that part didn't go well.
Yeah, no, I wanted to get to the travel. That's something new, and then for the Ringo Truthers, he didn't play on defense, so their coaches kind of tell you where he's at. He's a fourth corner, is what we said 2 years ago. Yep. That's proven out. He's a really good special teams player. I do wonder. It's obviously if this is going on, if they continue, Jackson gave up a number of plays. Mm-hmm. I saw he gave himself a C. I saw somewhere he was quoted, give himself a C. Uh-huh. Bottom line is, it's got to be better at that corner spot opposite Mitchell. We knew they were going to go after him. That was obvious. That was the big thing we talked about. But would he, leading up to the game? But would he hold up? And then Bennett replaced him. Bennett had a holding penalty. I joked on Discord he could have had 3 penalties on that. He was grabby, Jacorian. He only played 7 snaps on defense. But at some point, it's like the trade deadline's in late October. You don't need to wait till then. It's like, how long is Howie going to wait if this continues to go get another corner for the trade market?
Yeah, I think a couple of years ago he got fired about a week or two before the trade deadline.
Right, there you go. But you want to give. I know it hasn't been good for Bennett. This is a completely different defense than he played in with the Raiders. Mm-hmm. But the guy's talented. You got to give him time. You can't panic. You got to let the situation play. By the way, they did win, but next week they're at the Chiefs, and the Chiefs are throwing them. In fact, the word coming from Kansas City is that because their passing game was not great last season, protection wasn't great. They want to expand it. They want to move the ball downfield more. So it's going to be, and they've reshaped their offensive line. We'll talk more about that next week. But hey, you know what? They only gave up 20 points, but man, it's only game 1. A lot of corrections, as Nick will talk about. Coaches always talk about that. Hey, you needed tape. You got tape, and you got to be a little bit better there.
Yeah, and with Jahad Campbell starting at the second level, I think the tape, we'll get to it with Greg. It's going to probably show that his athleticism is unbelievable. He made that huge pass breakup on the backup tight end on that play down the seam where I can't remember the Brevin Jordan Span or something like that.
The tight end 87. Yeah. Span. Yes.
Span. He made a really nice breakup on that. But then there were some plays, just some run plays where I felt like he was getting blocked out pretty good. He's got to learn to get around the offensive tackle or to be more aggressive in that pulling guard and kind of crash into him so that Bond can make the tackle or get off, stack and shed, make the tackle yourself.
Agreed.
Yeah, he's got to probably improve in that area, but the range and the athletic ability is just there.
You can see it, no doubt. Shout out to special teams. Jake Elliott nailed that 58-yarder was phenomenal. He went through the struggles for 4 weeks or so last year. By the way, you don't have to be on the injury report to be dealing with something. Whatever. It could be anything. He didn't miss any practice time, but bottom line is that he nailed that 58-yarder. And shout out to Braden, man. Holy smokes. 3 for 146. He had a great summer, by the way. He is really good. He's taking this game to another level. 48-7 average, 2 punts of 50-plus yards, 51.
Those fourth quarter punts were fantastic. They were phenomenal.
It's funny you mentioned that because I'm like, it's such a judgment call. This is where New York the officiating office should be like, the ref is walking back the yardage. Like he's like, okay, he sees it go out of bounds. He's got to walk it up. I don't know if that was completely accurate where he placed it, but nevertheless, 2 punts inside the 20 at the 11 and the 18. I was talking about the 11 where it was placed at the 11, but Braid Man, we don't talk about him enough. He was good, not great, since they got him through last season. But man, this summer, holy smokes, and it manifested itself. It wasn't just the preseason, it was in training camp. Not that we're watching punters a lot, but when I watch them, I'm like, wow, this is really booming. The hang time's great. He was incredible, and Jake's back. He looks great. He really does.
No, special teams was huge in this game. Very big with the directional punting and the field goals. I agree. All right, so that's basically the rundown. The Eagles win a game. It was a typical NFC East type game. I think the Cowboys, maybe they're a little better than people gave them credit for, or they just caught the Eagles at the right time. But they did move the ball at times. But hey, that second half, gotta give the Eagles a lot of credit for both teams. Both teams really kind of turned around defensively the second half. We'll see what that means for the rest of the season. That's going to do it for the Inside the Birds post-game show. For Adam Caplan, I'm Geoff Mosher. Catch you on the next one.